Here's the God honest truth. Joe Biden and the Democrats are not going to save you with this student loan debt forgiveness program, even though he and the Democrats alike are marketing it as a savior of the student loan crisis. So if you're not sure about this, the Biden administration campaigned under resolving the student loan crisis, and finally in August 2022 offered a plan which is said to ease the burden of the growing college costs and make student loan more manageable for working families by introducing this debt relief policy. As of right now, about 20% of Americans have outstanding student loan debts, totaling an estimated $1.6 trillion. And so the debt relief aims to address the financial harms of the pandemic by providing up to $20,000 in debt cancellation to Pell Grant recipients with loans held by the Department of Ed, and up to $10,000 in debt cancellation to non-Pell Grant recipients. So borrowers are eligible for this relief if their individual income is less than $125,000, or for a married couple, $250,000. So no high-income individuals or high-income households in the top 5% of incomes will benefit from this program. Additionally, the pause on federal student loans repayment will be extended one final time up until December 31st, 2022. So borrowers who took advantage of this pause should expect to resume payment in January of 2023. So besides the waiver of the $10,000 or the $20,000, the Biden administration also said that it would cap monthly student loan repayments for undergrad loans at around 5% of the discretionary income, which is about half of the current level. The policy announced by the White House would benefit up to 43 million borrowers and cancel the full balance for up to 20 million borrowers, according to the administration's calculations. So the White House has cited the Education Department estimates that nearly 90% of relief dollars would go to Americans earning less than $75,000. So that's the background of this policy. Before I get into the implications and whether or not this will actually work, this is the legal code, and on this channel we discuss right now public policy, legal issues that I think you should know about, that to prevent any blind spots that you have and to protect yourself and insulate yourself from any legal pitfalls. So that's what this channel is about. Occasionally we touch on celebrity shenanigans, their antics, but only in so much as you can have a takeaway to apply to your life, and that's how I try to present it. I don't care about pop culture and what celebrities are doing. I only care about the golden nuggets that we can get from their mistakes, because although they have money and they have a lot of access and protection, they do make mistakes that we can all learn from. So that is the bedrock of this channel, legal topics that you can learn from. So if you like that sort of thing, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course share with anyone else you think will find value. So this is about student loans, so share with everyone who is grappling with the student loan crisis. Also, I am a real life attorney, so if you would like the opportunity to speak with me to troubleshoot some areas that you may be having or facing with your small business, whether you have some reticence about estate planning or anything, you can reach out to me and we could troubleshoot and develop a formula step by step of what you need to do. If you're totally exhausted with the DIY Googling topics and you need to speak with an attorney, I'm at your disposal. The link is in the description box. Now, without further ado, let's discuss this student loan crisis and how the Democrats are marketing it as a savior that's going to relieve the debt of many borrowers and impact families. So this student loan forgiveness policy announced by the White House aims to benefit up to 43 million borrowers and cancel the full balance of about 20 million borrowers, according to the administration's calculations. And so the White House has cited that the Education Department estimates that nearly 90% of relief dollars will go to Americans earning less than $75,000 a year. This is a concern because there's some speculation that high earners will benefit from this debt forgiveness program. But again, the money is earmarked for those making a certain amount. So some people have already begun signing up. It's a fairly easy application process, only asking for biographical information. However, can this plan to forgive debt pass muster and affect the change that borrowers are hoping for? I'm here to tell you that it's not that simple. This isn't a layup for student loan borrowers, nor the Democratic Party, who is using this to curry favor with despondent voters. Here's the truth. I don't want anyone out there getting their hopes up because the government is not going to fix your life. Although the United States has a constitution, Bill of Rights, a plethora of laws to protect its citizens, all of that stuff gives the impression of America's promise to do the right thing. But given the track record in the last few years, I'm a little cynical. America cannot maintain its promise of student loan forgiveness. The jury is back from deliberation, and you need to know because it affects your life. Democrats are using this as a marketing scheme because that's all it is, marketing to get your vote. And it's not by accident that this is done right around the primaries. It's rolled out just a few weeks ago. So let's look at why I believe this is the scheme. It's a slam dunk for the Democrats because even if the law is not successful, voters will vote for them based on this promise, even if the bill is struck down. They'll win because they're encouraging people or giving the impression that people should vote for them because of this policy. If they lose, they get to blame the Republicans because the Republicans have blocked it. So either side, they win because it's masqueraded in something that you care about. They have the carrot and the stick, and they really don't care about the impact of knowing whether or not it's likely to pass. And it's most likely not. Biden didn't issue the debt forgiveness pursuant to the executive order or his executive power. Rather, his administration drew on the HEROES Act, a law passed after the 9/11 terrorist attacks that allows relief from student loan payments during times of war or national emergency. And the Donald Trump administration and Biden administration repeatedly used these laws to pause the payments of the student loans since the pandemic started in early 2020. So under Biden's plan, that pause will end in 2023, like I mentioned before. So in a legal opinion, Biden's education department broke with the Trump era department in advising that the same law could be used not just to pause payments, but also to forgive debt. I'll link the actual opinion below so you can read it for yourself. This is pursuant to the HEROES Act, the department wrote, which grants the Secretary of Education authority that could be used to effectuate a program of targeted student loan cancellation directed at addressing the financial harms of the COVID-19 pandemic. This authority, the legal memo says, can be used to, quote, address the financial harms of such a war other than military operation or emergency, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Specifically, the HEROES Act authorizes the Secretary to waive or modify any statutory or regulatory provision applicable to the Student Financial Assistance Program. If the Secretary deems such waivers or modifications necessary to ensure at least one or several enumerated purposes, including that borrowers are not in a position or a financial place to be able to pay the debt because of this national emergency, then it should apply. So this is what the Biden administration is hanging its hat on. By taking this legal approach, the Education Department must demonstrate a plausible connection between the relief offered and the financial burdens created by the pandemic, i.e. loss of jobs, the shutdowns, people weren't earning income, yada, yada, yada. There's also a legal provision separate from the HEROES Act that can also be used to justify debt forgiveness. This provision is known as 20 USC 1082, which broadly gives the Education Secretary's authority to compromise, waive, or release claims against private parties, including student debtors who owe money directly to the government. So the Biden administration has not invoked this latter provision, this latter law. Under both these laws, the basic argument is that these authorities are broad and therefore grant discretionary power to the Secretary of Education. But these arguments are far from what is universally recognized because the interpretation is vague. This law will, of course, be challenged by the debt forgiveness opponents. So debt forgiveness opponents will want to interpret the law as narrowly as possible. The Democrats, or the proponents of the debt forgiveness, will want to interpret it as broadly so they can have the power and authority pursuant to the law to forgive student loans. The main challenge with using the HEROES Act authority is that the U.S. Supreme Court has looked unfavorably on the assertion of executive branch authority that is not spelled out congressionally or enacted in legislation. A majority of justices might be swayed by the argument that the Education Department is reading too much authority into the HEROES Act text. In several recent court cases that happened in 2022, the Supreme Court's conservative majority has upheld agencies' interpretation of sweeping or otherwise surprisingly grants of authority. In other words, because of the court's recent aggressiveness in curtailing the federal agency's claims of authority, it is likely that the Supreme Court will overturn the debt cancellation and say it's an overreach of the federal powers. This is because the federal government and its agencies went crazy the last 2 years with all these mandates, moratoriums, policies during the pandemic, seemingly cherry-picking power that they did not have the authority to act on. And so where they didn't have it, the administration agencies are supposed to be creatures of statute, and they accordingly only have the authority that Congress has provided. So the Supreme Court is suspicious of anything coming down the pike conferring more authority to the federal government because it got away with so much during the last 2 years. I mean, just pure shenanigans and recklessness, commandeering authority and exceeding their authority in so many ways in the last 2.5 years, which affected the lives of millions of Americans. So unless debt forgiveness proponents can point to a clear congressional authority when it asserts this new power over an important part of the economy, it will not pass muster. So that's the likely outcome. This policy is seen as an executive overreach, and it's shifting the responsibility and in a way villainizing those who owe student loans and took out debt, albeit they couldn't afford it. That's a separate argument, but they took it out because of the promise of a good, stable job. Now, these borrowers have become the villains because of the rhetoric in the media, which does nothing to address the underlying issues of the outrageous college costs. And instead, it rewards colleges for making education unaffordable and entrenches the failing status quo. The colleges are still getting away with charging these exuberant prices for education, whereas the citizens, you and I, are fighting over who should be allowed to have their debt forgiven. Talk about passing the buck. and distracting us about what the issue is at hand. So I thought it was really important to lay out the implications of this policy and to let you know it is being masqueraded in a disingenuous way. It's not going to save you. It's held up in court right now, so there's no guarantee that this policy will work. And unfortunately, the Democrats are using it to curry favor with voters, knowing that there's going to be an unfavorable outcome for voters who are relying on this debt relief. On the other side, even if the debt relief is not passed, again, they could blame the Republicans. So as you can see, it's a strategy for their campaign. I don't think they really care about student loan forgiveness and the crisis. It's just a soundbite to get your votes. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know, did you apply for the, with that being said, before I get into my conclusion, still apply. Still, don't let this dissuade you. Do not let what's happening politically dissuade you from giving it your best shot. Maybe it will work out, but I'm just saying there's no guarantee, and there's an agenda behind why this policy was put forth. And I just want you to be aware of that. But still apply. I think that's really important to say. If you think you're eligible, apply, but have this information that I presented in the back of your head. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts. Have you applied? Were you aware of this political scheme to get your votes? What do you think about it? Do you think it's going to be successful before the Supreme Court? Let me know your thoughts. And of course, share with anyone else who's a borrower, struggling with student loan debt. Let them know the background. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.